You'll stand to the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Joe Machoto. William Harper.
Here.
Renee Curtis.
Here.
Zane Cantrell.
Present.
We have a quorum.
You have the minutes of our last meeting. Are there any changes or additions to these minutes?
Move be approved, Mr. Chairman.
No motion to be
Second.
approved. Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. The first item on our agenda, the Huntley Gordon request has been withdrawn. And we have one item, Michael Lucas. What do you have on that, please?
Application 2021-25 involves the property at 702 Morris Drive. It's a request for special exception approval for the establishment of a major home-based business involving motorworks and metal fabrication upon a property located in the RM zone. And the applicant's name is Michael Lucas. And so this request came to us as a result of a code enforcement complaint. Once it was determined that there was an unpermitted business at the site, the applicant was notified to apply for a major home-based business, and Mr. Lucas complied with submitting the application. The site is a 0.49 acre site located in a platted subdivision just off Compton Road. And the applicant is proposing to operate the business from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. He has 2 non-resident employees that report to the site, and they plan to install a sign measuring 4 square feet. And so he provides a variety of services that includes welding repairs, metal fabrication, abrasive services such as removal of coatings and storage of mobile operations equipment. And so we posted a sign on the property. Since the sign and the public notice letters went out, we have received numerous calls with concerns about the work that's occurring in the right-of-way, the noise and the extended hours that they operate, and the lack of screening. So he's got a direct view from some of the adjacent properties. He uses a detached structure towards the back of the property, and I'll show you in the aerial. And there's a detached carport that was recently permitted that's being utilized for the business. So this is the surrounding area. From what I understand from some of the phone calls, maybe not, that this is one of the employees that report to the site. That's their vehicle. So you can see the detached garage in the back, and so we did receive calls with concerns. Most of them did not want to, affect someone's livelihood, but they also, their enjoyment of their properties had been impaired by the business activities that were happening at 702 Morris Drive. You have received some pictures from some people that dropped them off in here. I think each of you have looked at them. And I had an email from a gentleman who sent an email in opposition or with concerns, and also submitted some photos of some of the items that were parked in the street related to the business activity. So the applicant has indicated that this is a temporary situation, that they hope to expand to a commercial or non-residential site, but currently, they would like permission to operate their home-based business from this location. And that concludes our presentation.
Danielle, I have a question on, in the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned something about a carport. Was that detached that's permitted, or is the carport separate?
The carport is on the back of the house, close to the back of the house. It's it's located, I would assume 10 to 15 feet from the detached garage, and it's just an open carport. It was recently permitted, so that's why you're not seeing it in an aerial photographs here. I did not get a Connect Explorer
But it's being
image.
used for the purpose of the business,
Yes.
right? And okay, I was just trying to make sure that was connected. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around to the podium, please. If you'll give us your name and any additional information you want to share about this. I understand that you've been operating for some time without a permit. Is that correct? That is correct. Yes. Okay. And you know you can't do business out on the street?
That is correct. I know that.
Okay. All right.
Yes. You want me to speak
Go
this
ahead.
way, or-
Yes.
Okay. My name's Michael Lucas. I own Lucas Motorworks Welding and Fabrication, and we do operate with metal fabrications, welding services, structural repairs to vehicle componentry, trailers, and other various custom things, both residential and commercial. So one of the, if not two of the things I wanted to clarify in what's been said so far in the presentation was that the carport that is in back is actually not used for the business. It's currently for storage. Unfortunately, the garage I've taken over was my wife's parking spot, and she needs somewhere to park. So right now it's just holding equipment, but it's not actually being used for commercial application right now. So the original application I put in for, I believe it was 598 square feet of actual commercial space, which was, I think, 23.5% of what was within the allowable limit of the 25% of our residential property gross space. We fell within. And additionally, the motorworks side, that's a little bit deceiving. Lucas Motorworks originated basically out of a storage unit where we were welding motorcycle componentry parts and accessories, for which that is no longer a service that we actually offer. At this location, we only do motor componentry such as a cracked block, a piece of the engine that has broken off. We don't do, in a mechanicking sense, a vehicle repair. It is just strictly componentry repair. Yeah.
Good question.
The garage that you're speaking of, that still does not relieve it from having to have a building permit. You still have to have a building permit.
Correct, yes. The carport, yes, that was a recent addition, but separate from the business. The detached two-vehicle structure that you may have glimpsed at in the photographs came with the purchase of the residence and was already there when we moved in approximately 2 years ago.
Okay. All right. So how long have you been actually doing business at this location?
Just under 2 years. As the business currently stands today, all of the services have been offered just under 2 years.
Okay. When you started doing that, did you know it was illegal to do what you were doing?
I did not know in the beginning, no.
Okay.
That soon became apparent probably about a year in, only because I was employed full-time and it was more on a hobby sense. But when the business became an LLC and so forth.
But when it became an LLC, would that not trigger you as a businessman to realize I need to do something different, I need to get permission or something like that?
And we've been working on that for almost 8 months now, and we can currently not find a location in Rutherford County or anywhere close at this point.
I know, but still, when you at your home, you would think that you would need to ask somebody something about that. All right, that goes into my next question. We're going to do a role reversal here. Okay, let's say, for example, that's not your home. That's someone else's home, one of your neighbors. Mm-hmm. And you're living in another house on that street. How would you feel with this same scenario if the roles were reversed?
Well, up until this hearing, I would have been fine with it, but based on current roll call, it seems like feelings might be a little bit different. But I'm a hands-on person, so quite frankly, I probably would have asked to help.
Because, I mean, with that many vehicles on the street, that many vehicles in the backyard,
2 vehicles front, 2 vehicles in the back, service vehicles not visible from the front, with the exception of the one that we had there very temporarily, which is one of our service trucks, only because we were waiting for the customer to show up for security reasons. So this picture was probably taken about a day before the customer came back and picked it up or so.
I'm just,
Yes.
my point is, it's pretty intrusive to the neighborhood, correct?
Yeah,
You agree?
it's an eyesore,
Yeah,
for lack of better words, yes.
okay.
Jerry, do you have a question?
So these pictures are recent. She showed us. We even see a box trailer. I saw where you have a fork truck.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, so the type of work you're doing is industrial. It is not on a half-acre lot. A home-based business is supposed to be pretty invisible to your neighbors. There's no way that you're doing your work out in the street and not in your own backyard. You said 2 vehicles. Well, our application here showed 6 vehicles in your backyard.
May I see the photo?
Trailers? Other pictures we saw showed stored.
Those are all my personal trailers.
Well, they still add to everything that has to do with your business and your neighbors and what they see through the fence.
I understand the connection there. However, there's a specific difference between my personal property that's not used in the business and what we have for customer items that come onto the property.
I did see a fire pit in the backyard where it looked like you were burning garbage.
No, bamboo. It's a personal, our foliage and, but I mean, in the general, okay. I mean, yes, I have burned an Amazon box or a few, and I recognize that that is not permitted. But when the fire department, and later followed by an inspection, came out, they understood that, or I then understood, really just tree limbs. We have a horrible bamboo thicket that has to be trimmed way too much, and it causes noise with the popping as we burn that. So I understand that. But the fire pit has been there since the beginning.
So what I'm asking is, what you've been doing, how is that going to change if we approve your business? That still can't happen. People can't leave things out on the street.
That is correct, yes. So out of respect for the neighbors, my wife and I have had a great conversation about what's going on. I will admit we have grown a little too fast for the location that we are confined to at this point, and there are certain operations such as heavy trucking, repairs, where we are already prepared to go fully mobile, where we can go to the truck stops and other locations that are not this location to take care of those customers. But yeah, and as far as any forward-facing things, service trucks out on the street and so forth, we are fully prepared to discontinue that.
What do you do about the noise created?
So the service hours that were listed off before are not actual production hours. So though we open at 8 and we close at 7, that's me on the phone, invoicing, things of that nature, admin hours, I'll call it. However, noise doesn't actually begin until about 9 a.m., which those 2 non-resident employees show up at that time, and then they discontinue about 5:30 to 6 o'clock.
What type of noise are we talking about? I mean, there's some people who work night shift, they sleep in the day. It's a neighborhood, so what do you do to try to keep your noise down?
Keep it indoors the best we can. If it fits inside the garage or the garage attached to the house in any way, we try to close the garage door when we can. Anytime it will fit in a garage, we'll close the doors and take care of it.
I'm in industry, so we're talking about grinding,
That is correct.
welding preparation, that type of stuff.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Amber?
I guess, put in a concept plan, and I'm just having a difficult time understanding. Is this just to show us where you're going to have the vehicles located?
No, that's actually current are you looking at the 3D rendering? Yes.
Okay.
So I put that together to show currently exactly the way things are.
Okay. I mean, for me, it's just difficult to support this type of business in a neighborhood, and I'm really struggling to try to understand the fit into a neighborhood, so I did just want to make that comment.
Absolutely.
Bill?
We have a lot of home-based businesses come before us, and they're not obtrusive. Time after time, they're within the building. This seems to have a lot of activity outside, a lot of noise, vehicles. It just seems to me to be more intrusive than the rest of what we have seen.
Generally speaking, you are correct. We have expanded faster than I would have anticipated over the last few months. And as I mentioned earlier, we are prepared to either go mobile or reduce operations in the interest of reducing noise. We just so happen to be in a very particular dilemma right now with 3 realtors and other people looking for properties for us right now, where, like I said, we're prepared to reduce the noise, the display of things out in the front of the property so it's not so much of an eyesore, just to get us to the point where we hope something will become available.
We have always supported a business where the business has been reasonable to the neighbors.
Renee?
I respect your entrepreneurship. I do. Being self-employed, I understand, but this is just not appropriate for the neighborhood, and I have to tell you, I'm against it.
I understand. Thank you.
Like we're finding commercial property.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you through? Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
I got one other quick question.
Yes, sir.
And I'm proud that you've grown your business. I mean, that's the American way. But this is just not the right place for it.
Correct.
If you get turned down tonight for your application, what's your plan going forward?
That's been a difficult discussion, I will tell you that much, because a lot of our income and what we do is based on operations that are very difficult to silence in a property like this. So mobile operations would increase, and we would do a new line of advertising to take this type of work out into the field. As a matter of fact, what we've been doing with this right now has been more of an emergency response. Truck drivers stranded, and they can just limp it to us, and then we can get them on their way at that point. Yes, that's not difficult to discontinue. Now, the other operations, such as trailers, things that don't fit in the garage but can easily fit onto the property, that's going to be a little bit more of a difficult feat for us to get over. But as it stands right now, the best we can do is reduce it to where we can limp ourselves through until a property becomes available.
Can you go mobile on those other things too?
To some degree, yes, but the amount of business that is available for that is difficult to survive on alone, which is why our business is done so well, because we offer both, and we cater both to residential customers, which not many do in the category we serve, but also to commercial, where we can travel and go as far as we need to.
Mr. Lucas, go ahead and sit down. We want to hear from your neighbors now.
Thank you.
We'll open this for a public hearing. If you, those of you who wish to speak, if you'll come to the right and give us your name and come to the podium, give us your name. Try to keep your comments within 3 minutes. And we have a public hearing. Just come on up to the podium here. Both of you can. Don't be nervous.
My name is Charles Comstock. This is my wife, Judy Comstock. We live at the corner of April Lane and Morris Drive. We have been bombarded for the last year and a half with traffic problems out there. We've got 2 school buses that come through twice a day. We've got garbage trucks that come through. We've got pickup trucks. When I say pickup, I mean trash pickup trucks that come through. This side, the left side of Marsh Lane had been blocked to a certain degree for the last year and a half. I have no personal problem with Mike. He does good work. I've recommended him to a lot of people, and I've gave some very good opinions on Facebook. But the explosions that happened out there because his employees or someone has been dumping flammable liquids in his fire pit, piling. We've got pictures of that, I didn't bring them, of burning materials, wood, plastic, paper, you name it, on this pile. And they set it off one night, and the flames were 20 to 25 foot tall. The explosion shook the neighbors across the road, house. It shook ours. I don't know about the others. I didn't know the others. The neighbors came to me, told me that. They brought in buses from Nashville, I presume Nashville, to be cut down into party buses, where they cut all the metal off. That was done in the backyard. I listened to hammering, sawing, banging, clanging for about 4 months. I hate it that he has the business out there because we bought this place as a residential. He bought his house after we bought ours. Had I known that, I never would have bought my house there. The chemicals that have been used in sandblasting, metal blasting, and water blasting in the past, I'm not sure about the present, I don't think he's done it anymore, have saturated into the ground. He was under the opinion that his drain in his driveway, and he was on city water. I told him on 2 different occasions, you're not on city water. There's a septic out here, period. I know what I'm talking about. I've lived it all my life. And still, it went on and went on and went on. The backyard out there, I know he stores his equipment. There's a lot of tanks of, I presume, acetylene, propane. They may be empty, they may be full. I don't know, I don't go check. It's not my business, but they're out there. And I wouldn't think he'd have a whole bunch of empty stuff out there. And if and when someone gets sick, or possibly gets sick from the chemicals that's been dumped and burnt in that backyard, I pity them and their children. And like I say, I respect him for his abilities, and I hope that everything goes well, but there are plenty of places. If you want to open a big business, you better put the money out to get a place. You can't do it in your backyard in a neighborhood. And it's my wife.
I have difficulty understanding why this has gone on as long as it has. I bought our place in November 2 years ago. I think they bought theirs right around that same time. But with all this stuff he has parked out in the street, I have trouble backing out of my driveway and being able to see if traffic is coming. I feel like a lot of times when I do that, I'm putting not only my life in danger, but anybody that may be coming down the street. The business makes it impossible to sit in the yard and have a good time. You can't sit on your patio without all this noise. You know, I sold a house because it was becoming a rental neighborhood to buy this house. And personally, I think this matter is worse than living in a rental neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, come on.
My name is Patricia Kurtz. I live at 635 Morris Drive with my husband Richard, and we have seen nonstop traffic with big dump trucks coming through, parked in the street, you know, for repairs. There was a full semi-trailer that sat out in front of his house for better part of a month before that got moved, and then this big car hauler took its place. There's young family across the street that has young children. There's people on the other side of his property that have young children. I don't know how these children can take a nap, or they can't play in the street. They can't play in their driveway because of all this traffic going back and forth. And I mean, I have no problem with, you know, you having a business. I don't. But not in a residential neighborhood. It's just not a safe thing to do. I mean, even the post office the postman's got to get out of his mail truck to put mail in the mailbox because he can't get to the mailbox. And I mean, I've seen, you know, FedEx and UPS have blocked the road to make deliveries because they can't park next to the you know, on the side of the road. So, you know, I just don't, it's not a good idea. Not at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Daphne Young, and I reside at 3443 April Lane. First of all, I want to reiterate and say that I agree with all the other statements that have been made. So to save everyone's ears, I'll try not to repeat the same information. Although we live on April Lane, our house faces the Lucas's residence. We heard one of our neighbors talk about one of the party buses the work was done in the backyard. That's not completely accurate. The work may have been completed in the backyard, but the party bus itself was parked in the street in front of their house, direct in front of our house, for a considerable amount of time. The car trailers are parked. At one point, they were parked in front of 3 different houses on the street. We have lived in this neighborhood since 2003, July of 2003. The reason why we moved to that location was because it was a family-friendly neighborhood. It's not a cul-de-sac, but the whole neighborhood is a circle. So it's one of those neighborhoods with supervision. Children are able to ride their bikes on the street. Families walk with strollers. Our son and daughter-in-law have moved in with us, and they have an 8-month-old baby. With the noise, my son sometimes works 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So he has to sleep during the day. My granddaughter obviously has to take naps during the day. The noise is so bad that our dogs bark because they think someone is invading our house, which wakes up the granddaughter, which wakes up my son. That's not what a neighborhood is. We do have school buses that come through the neighborhood. We can't walk in front of our house. We have to walk. When we take walks, we have to walk back behind in the opposite direction because it's not safe. It's not safe for a person with a stroller. It's not safe for pedestrians. I was leaving the subdivision a couple of weeks ago and was almost hit head on by a delivery truck that was coming to their house.
Thank you very much. Next.
I'm Judy Pitts, and we live on 3411 April Lane. He does take the stuff off the street, but he puts it in his backyard, and our yard backs up to his. He pulled in a motorhome a while ago. It was on the front on the driveway. Then he pulled it in the back. And so that's what we have to look at. We've been living there 35 years. It looks like a junkyard. I'm sorry, but I don't like looking at it. And I just don't think that's right.
My name is Gary Pitts, and I used to be a Rutherford County Road Board member from 86 to 02, and we took pride in our road board system. And I understand, people have breakdowns on the road. They get the proper authority out there, but like you said, there's trailers, they sit there day and night for, say, 2 weeks. We got school buses coming around through there, and it's just not ideal place to have a business. All the little houses are on about a half-acre lot in that first section, and it's just not the right place for this business he's got. He's a good welder. I'll give him that much. He's increasing his business every week, seems like, but it's just not the right place to have this kind of fabricating job.
Thank you very much. Next.
My name is Theresa Fields, and I live at 683 Morris Drive. And we own a business, and we go out every day to our building, and the road where he is having to work from his home is just a disaster in front of neighbors' houses. We moved to this neighborhood because it was quiet. People were friendly. My son lived there 10 years before we moved there, and that's one reason that we moved to this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Piercy, good to have you with us, sir. Well, once we want to know what's going on out in the district, we ask the commissioners to hear.
Well, you could look at tonight's agenda and find a whole lot. Y'all have got this, I'm sure, but I talked to more people than is here tonight about this, and they all had the same opinion. It was located at the wrong spot. But this is very unusual. The 8 years I've been on the commission, I've had calls and calls on different things, and it's never been this way. Everyone that called me about this commented about how good a feller Mr. Lucas was. They love him as a neighbor, but his business has encroached his stay, more or less. I would ask that you deny him to continue like he's continuing. If maybe he could move all his stuff off the street, work out of the building he has in the back, and, do maybe a mobile service, because there's other home-based businesses in this area, and some of them are fair size, other than his, but they're not in the street, and they're probably not aggravating the neighbors like this particular one is. You know, he can soundproof his building like we asked another gentleman in my district to do 2 or 3 years ago, put a collection system in for his liquids, put him a dumpster in for his trash. There's ways around not going out of business, but you're going to have to comply with the county laws and regulations. I thank you.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing and consider this. Mr. Lucas, I don't think anyone is opposed to your making a good living. I think the pandemic that we're facing and still facing has brought on a lot of major businesses out in neighborhoods where it's just not appropriate for that major home business. It's not just a regular home business anymore. These are major operations, and I hope that you will consider that. These are just not appropriate places to have this kind of business, this kind of operation. And I'm so sorry that you may not have an alternate, but you're going to probably have to look for it. And I don't know what the board feels like, but I'm ready to accept a motion on this.
I so move that we deny.
Have a motion that be denied. Do you need additional?
It's always helpful to have something to support the motion if you just want to refer to the statements of the witnesses and the incompatibility of the business with the surrounding area.
I seconded his motion because it will adversely affect the neighborhood.
Okay.
And it has adversely affected.
All right, thank you. Do we have any further discussion on this motion? Call a roll, please.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
William Harper.
Yes.
Renee Curtis.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Is there any other business before the board? You are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here.